Yo, yo, yo. We're gonna start this off right. It's gonna be the introduction to this latest video. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe. Keep playing with me, man. I'm trying to give y'all that real content, man. That straight to the oils, man. It ain't stepped on. So keep rocking with me. But this is gonna be the perfect introduction to talk about this video.
Coming from me, cause no one told ya. Of a logo and serious saying, this ain't no joke, Jimmy. I ain't playing. I'm hardcore, straight up raw. I'm the overlord, I adore clocking. But no, as if you didn't know. Fronting on the scene when it's time to go. Asking for a number from any member of the Tough Crew band. Remember, jacking on my tip, over tip of my shoulder. I be a soldier, a king roller, smashing those who stand in my path. Counting them down like math. Planning, mapping, rapping them down. For my part of town.
Yeah. So that was a song by a Philly hip hop crew called Tough Crew. This was the 80s, man, like 80s, early 90s, but I want to say it was the late 80s that Tough Crew came out with that. It's called My Part of Town. So what inspired this video is I was watching a video a second ago with Hip Hop Uncensored. Shout out to them. They doing their thing for real on YouTube. They was interviewing a guy called Cue Ball. Cue Ball is he was a third member of a group called the Youngsters. Legendary Philly rap crew, right? So he was walking people through the Philly hip hop. He left some gaps. It'd be short time window, so he probably want to get a whole history. But he pretty much was outlining of a conversation that I have often, actually, and it's not to be no diss, it's just a real conversation. Gilly called himself the king of Philly, and people run with that and they get it confused, really thinking like I met people from all cities, man, and I try to keep in tune with people from all cities, whether it's New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Philly, Houston, LA, St. Louis, Newark, down to Charlotte, Columbia, South Carolina, like the gutter of the gutters, right? I try to stay in tune. You know what I mean? And let's be clear. Nobody runs a city. The city's too big, and the city, like, I can't speak for all cities, but I always say I can speak for Philadelphia, right? Philly is broken down in a way where it's so territorial and it's so divided that there's no one person that can say they run a city, right? So the dude Cue Ball, like I said, he was a member of a group called the Youngsters, right? So let's walk through Philly hip hop real quick, where you had a guy named Schoolie D. Schoolie D was from West Philly, right? Well, is from West Philly. He's still alive. He's actually credited with being the father of gangster rap. He had a song called PSK that came out in the 80s where he kind of shifted the tide, so to say, and he was one of the first dudes to really put that street stuff in music, and he was really who he said he was, right? On the hill after Schoolie D, you had a kind of a jumble of different rappers, right? You had so Cue Ball, Uncle and them had a record label, and they really credited with finding Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff with taking them the job to get them their deal, right? That's all facts, right? So around this time you had Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff, right? Who I try to educate people all the time. Like, y'all look at dude now, but dude actually, to me, he was nice, and his music was different. It wasn't all super street or nothing like that. It was just fun music, I mean, that's really the kind of music he made. You know what I'm saying? And you had around the same time, you had a no Fresh Prince and them, like, they from West Philly. You had a crew called you had Cool C and the Hilltop Hustlers. Cool C had a song that y'all probably know of. If you're not from Philly, it was called The Glamorous Life. It was like, ooh, ooh, you got it, the glamorous life. Like, so they had a crew called the Hilltop Hustlers. You know what I'm saying? So you had Steady B, you had EST, all of them around the same generation, the same era. You know what I'm saying? Cool C and Steady B wind up, they kind of was doing bad, I guess. They needed some paper, so they ran in a supermarket and they tried to rob a bank. Well, I guess they pushed the button and a female officer came to investigate the situation. They wound up killing her. Cool C got the death penalty and they executed him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if Steady B was executed or not. I can't remember that. But Cool C for sure was executed. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you had EST, the Act Nicorous one. You know what I mean? So right after them, after that era, you had the youngsters kind of came in that. You had another crew called 100X. Like I said, you really got to be up on Philly hip hop to understand these names I'm saying. The youngsters had a little run. They had like 4 albums or so. I don't know how much mainstream appeal they had, but they was buzzing in the city. You know what I'm saying? The dude Cue Ball felt like they wasn't properly credited for the work they put in. And he was speaking on how Gilly, he feel like Gilly personally has a personal vendetta against them because of their history, and he don't acknowledge them. And he don't agree with the title of Gilly saying he the king of Philly. And he brought up, like, I'm from West Philly. They from West Philly. But even in North Philly, like where I'm from in North Philly, Gilly and them from like uptown us, like, you know what I'm saying? They darn near Ogon. So he may have been buzzing in his hood or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying he never did nothing. Ain't nobody never say he never did nothing. I never heard nobody say personally he's a chump. I'm going to say that first of all. I never heard nobody say Gilly's a chump. I'm going to get that disclaimer. But far wise as a saying, like, you the king of Philly, I always looked at it on some hip-hop kind of time. But even Cue Ball don't understand how you can say that on the hip-hop side of things. Which, I don't know, I'm impartial to it. Right? So after the youngsters, you had a crew from North called Ram Squad. Ram Squad had the city on lock. Like, I don't care who you is or what you talking about. Ram Squad for their times had the city on lock. Right? If you're not from the tri-state area, meaning Delaware, Philly, Jersey, you may not be fully abreast of Ram Squad. They had one song that had a video to it called what was it called? It's Ballers Up in Here. You know what I mean? But that was like some commercial joints. Like, what the city fell in love with Ram Squad for was, and it's typical Philly hip hop. A lot of these artists that come out, they actually live what they be rapping about. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know Ram Squad was moving around. Like, they old head was a dude named Frank Bank, real name Frank Johnson. They from Richard Island Projects, and they was really living what they was talking about. You know what I mean? Everybody know they had keys of coke. They was with the gunplay. They was fly, flashy niggas, like, you know what I'm saying? So after Ram Squad, so it kind of overlapped. Like, the first time I heard of Gilly, it had to be like 95. I was in high school. So when I say the city is divided, it's how divided the city is. Like, we all from North, but where they from, it don't really resonate where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't really ringing no bells, so to say, right? So I went to high school with a dude from EA. EA means Area Avenue. And we was sitting around, we was in a lunchroom, and it was asking, and people was like, yo, who the best dudes in Philly? And the first time I ever heard Gilly name, a dude named Emerson was like, Gilly. All he kept screaming was Gilly. I'm looking like, who the hell is Gilly? You know what I'm saying? Then I finally heard the tape, and I was like, oh no, he spit, he hot. You know what I'm saying? So right after, so Gilly, the whole Major Figure scene, like they was out, like Gilly was out before anybody heard of Beanie Siegel, before they heard of Young Chris, before they heard of Oskino and Sparks, before they heard of Freeway. Like these dudes was already out. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody in the city knew who Gilly was. You know what I'm saying? But they for whatever reason, they never reached the real mainstream appeal. You know what I'm saying? Like they was never under no big labels. They was never under no big names. Like Siegel and them State Prop, they was under Rockefeller and Jay-Z. So you was going to hear that music. You know what I'm saying? It was going to be pushed down your neck. Like they had access to Hot 97. You know what I'm saying? Like Gillingham was on Power 99, but Power 99 isn't a national syndicated show like Hot 97 was. You know, or is, I think, still is. So for all intents and purposes, they really kind of like local. I mean, I'm not trying to talk bad about it. I'm just talking about the differences and why State Prop got a push that Major Figures never got. And I really think that's part of the reason. Like, Jay-Z was the hottest dude in the game. Like, they had the hottest independent label. Even though, I mean, I don't know if you really consider independent. They were signed. I mean, they had a publishing deal through Def Jam. But, you know, that's a different kind of light. You know what I'm saying? Anybody around Jay-Z, you're going to get heard. But these were Major Figures. They really did it from the oils. They ain't really had that major artist above them push that made sure that they was going to be heard. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, all that came around the same time. Really, like when the masses probably really heard of Major Figures and State Property and Eve and, you know what I'm saying? Like, all that was around the same time. Like, but quite naturally, Eve was on the Rough Riders. There was another hot label probably just as equal as Rockefeller at the time. So, she was going to get a crazy push, and she was the only chick. And she was spitting. You know what I'm saying? So, when you look at that, so, you know, that started a little conflict in the city between Major Figures and State Property. You know what I'm saying? Like, Philly, one of them towns, man, and it's probably the same for almost any city you could think of. I mean, outside of Atlanta, I think, like, I don't know the inner politics of Atlanta for what is hip hop music, but I know that, I feel like from the outside looking in, when somebody got hot, they supported each other outside of the T.I. and Luda beef. We're not talking about that, but you know, they kind of supported each other. They never, you know what I'm saying? It was, and they kind of had different sounds, so they really never stepped on each other. Where in Philly, everybody's going to talk that gutter talk, because that's what we know. We don't know nothing else. You know what I'm saying? And the unfortunate part about Philly is that you got artists that is hotter than the people you don't heard, but they get killed or they go to prison for the rest of their life. Because they really got their hands in the mud. You know what I'm saying? I can speak for that era. I can't speak too much for this era because I ain't really up on this era. All tough. I know about the people that's surrounding the major artists from this era that's real dudes. You know what I'm saying? But Major Figures and State Property, they had a rift because, I don't know, both sides feel like they were slighted by the other side. You know what I mean? Excuse me. And typically what happens is that it ain't the artist per se, it's the crew surrounding the artist that go through it. You know what I'm saying? But in this case, the actual artist was going through it too. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, but y'all can y'all can YouTube it, where it really came to the public eye where State Property and Major Figures had a riff, right? When Gilly went on the radio station, he was talking spicy. Siegel called in, he was mocking him. And that kind of set off a chain reaction. You know what I'm saying? Where legend has it, I wasn't there. I heard it from enough credible people though that said that it was during the Greek Fest. No, Greek Fest is it used to be a super big deal in Philly, where it's kind of like the Greek Fest in Virginia Beach, and you had the Freaknik in Atlanta, you had the Greek Fest in Philly, and everybody was coming to the Greek Fest. They used to work their way down I-95. That's pretty much how it worked, right? And so they used to go from the Greek Fest in Philly down to the Greek Fest in Virginia Beach, down to Freaknik in Atlanta, because they was all right after each other, right? And this is when Gillie was signed to Cash Money. And legend has it, Birdman and them was in town, rolling with Gillie. Gillie showing them around. Beans happened to run into Gillie coming out of Dr. Denim and knocked him smooth out. And legend has it, Gillie fell on Birdman. Them had to catch him, stop him from hitting the ground, but he was out. Like, that's what legend has it, right? So it was a whole chain reaction after that. Like, people got killed, people got shot, people got rolled on, like a whole bunch of stuff happened. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad today, like, part of that is squash is like I always tell y'all, it can't never be squashed when you don't have a janazah for somebody. People don't know what a janazah is. A janazah is a Muslim term for funeral. You know what I'm saying? So young Chris and Neef homie got killed. Like Spado went to jail for a dime for allegedly killing them. Everybody in the city know Spado actually when they pulled the trigger though. I think he got shot or something happened to him. His blood was left at the scene. That's how he went to prison for, because they knew he was involved. So he wound up doing a dime for that. You know what I'm saying? And y'all know who Trendsetter Shady is. His brother's the one that got killed. His name was L.A. But like I said, that's off a whole chain of reactions of events within the city of Philadelphia in the hip-hop world, which turned into some street stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, everybody that knows, like, you know that hip-hop in the streets is like 3 degrees of separation. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the hip-hop acts get their style and their mannerisms and their rhymes from the streets. And, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, this is way before. So, we talking late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. You know what I'm saying? So, I understood dude's angle with the respects of somebody called himself the king of a city. Like, even Biggie, like on a rap tip, he was the king of New York. Not on the street tip. Like, you got to separate the two. You know what I'm saying? Because the average street dude, I'm going to keep it tall, feel like rappers be lying anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really live that. You ain't about that. You ain't about none of that action. You just good at rhyming, putting words together. But when it comes to the street stuff, you ain't moving nothing out here. And it's typical. You know what I'm saying? Especially, like I said, in the city where I'm from, how divided it is. It's hard to call yourself a king. You can't even really call yourself the king of the section. Like, whether you're from north, southwest, what have you. You know what I'm saying? You really can't even call yourself the king of that section, because everybody don't respect your handle. It's somebody that's sitting there waiting for you to act up, to prove a point, to show you what you're not. And I think almost every city got that to an extent. Like, we ain't exclusive to that. You know what I'm saying? But, like I said, I understood half of his point. With the respects of Gillie calling himself the king of Philly. Like I said, I think I look at it, I always looked at it more on the music side of things. I never looked at it like, I never heard nobody personally say, oh, you're going through it with Gillie? Oh, man, that's going to be a headache, man. You don't even want to go through it with him. I never heard that, you know what I'm saying? And not to say he a chump, because I never met nobody that called him a chump. I never met nobody that say he was a sucker. You know what I'm saying? Even people from Erie Avenue, I never come across nobody that said, no, Gillie ain't about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe he moved around. You know what I'm saying? But it's typical for us, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, we come from an environment where it's a battlefield. You know what I'm saying? We trained in combat super early. We're desensitized to violence super early. You know what I'm saying? Our moms are smoked out. Our pops may be smoked out. Somebody, at least 2 or 3, 4 or 5 people in our family don't sold drugs. So our future looks very bleak. You know what I'm saying? We don't got too many people in our family that was doctors and lawyers, and Everybody was some kind of street affiliated, whether it was on the good side or the well, I guess you could say both at the bad side, but whether you was addicted to the work or you was moving to work. You know what I'm saying? That's the environment which we come from. And the average person don't move around and sold something. Average dude don't have a hammer, don't shot a hammer. Like that's normal business. So ain't nobody gonna look at you with no kind of, oh damn, he really busts his gun. That's normal. Everybody busts their gun. You got mothers and grandmothers out there that bust their gun. That ain't nothing uncommon. You know what I'm saying? So I just was inspired to do this video because I was watching that and I was like, damn, he really give us some real history. And some people might miss it. You know what I'm saying? Because the way he's speaking, some people may think he's speaking from a realm of hate. You know what I mean? It ain't really the case. I mean, it's one of them things where everybody don't respect your handle. And you got to understand that side of it. Everybody don't look at you like you somebody. Somebody look at you like you a nut. Can't wait for you to act up so they can prove a point. That's average. That's normal. You know what I mean? So, me watching that, I was really looking at it like, damn, that's crazy. I understand where the boy coming from. I think part of it, he don't feel like, you know, he was fully, I mean, they dropped 4 albums. I guess he feel like they're not properly acknowledged within the Philadelphia hip-hop realm when people bring up Philadelphia hip-hop. I mean, they bring up pretty much everybody I don't said. Like, they'll bring up, I mean, even Tough Crew don't really get brought up like that, but they'll bring up Cool C's, they'll bring up the ESTs, they'll bring up the Fresh Princes, they'll bring up the Ram Squads. I'm talking Ram Squad before Tommy supposed to have ratted. You know what I mean? Well, I can't say supposedly, the paperwork came out. So before Tommy did what he did, like, everybody knew the Ram Squad was who they said they was. Like I said, they come from Richard Out of Projects. The old head Frank Bank, he got killed, I want to say like 95, 96. But they was really what they said they was. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just wasn't going in Richard Out of Projects doing nothing. And you wasn't just going there asking for them. Like, I remember my brother was booked with Frank Bank. And he came home like, yeah, Ronnie told me. I'm like, who Ronnie? He like, oh, Frank. I was like, oh. He was like, he told me come down Richard Island and ask for him, and he gonna hold me down because I was holding him down in there. Like, I was, like, he ain't had no soups and stuff, and I gave him what I had until he got a situation right. So he told me he got me. Just come down there and holler at him. I'm looking like, so he asking me to go down there with him. I'm like 16, 15, 16, something like that. And I'm looking at, and he like 7 years older than me, and I'm looking like, that ain't a bright idea. You mean to tell me you gonna go down Richard Island and ask for him? Man, you may not make it. I'm not getting killed going down there asking for him. Like, he one of them boys that, you know, they was going to protect because who he was. You know what I'm saying? What he represented. And he fed the whole projects. I'm saying you got to know the etiquette and laws of the land where you going. And Richard Island was one of them Jones that you just wasn't going down. If you wasn't walked in there, you're not walking yourself in there. I promise you. I can't speak for what goes on today, but in the 80s and 90s, you just wasn't walking in Richard Island and ain't nobody, or you going there asking for somebody. No, you going to walk in with somebody that's thorough, that people going to respect that you with him. So they going to give you a lot of respect because of who you with. I'm not going in there asking for a dude of that caliber, and they don't know what kind of time I'm on. You know what I'm saying? I look like, yo, that's not a bright idea. You better catch him in traffic. Hope you see him at somewhere in traffic and passing. But I'm not going down there with you. You crazy. Man, listen, man. It ain't about being a coward, man. It's all about being smart, making us see tomorrow as best as possible, man. I'm not doing nothing like that. So he thought better and was like, damn, you know what? You right. I didn't think of it like that. I was thinking about the paper he probably had for me or the work he had for me. You know what I'm saying? To put us on and get right. I'm looking like, yo, I respect all that, but I'm not doing it like that. But that's how it was in the 80s and 90s in that city. Like, you just couldn't go in different hoods, even on a walkthrough. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how treacherous it was. You wasn't from there. You ain't had no business there. You wasn't walking through there on no Diddy bop. Like, you gonna get your hair blown off. You gonna get disciplined. Like, dudes gonna strip you naked. And I don't see it happen to the toughest people. Like, it ain't about when the numbers ain't in your favor. It don't matter how much heart you got, or how good your fight game is, or how good your gun game is. When the numbers ain't in your favor, when you on somebody else's home turf, it's about being smart. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, this is before the boy Tommy, you know what I mean, told who he told. He told them people they got charged with weapons of mass destruction and all that. Like, the paperwork is there. Like, it ain't no lie. You know what I'm saying? But Ram Squad held the city down until really until Siegel on them. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep it tall. Really until Siegel on them, Ram Squad held the city down, man. And I guess he feel like the dude Q-Ball feel like that, you know, they don't get the proper respect for what they did for the city, what they did for the city with hip hop. And I can respect it. I can respect that on that, because they really don't get mentioned. Like, you gotta really be a hip hop head, a Philly hip hop head, to know who the youngsters was. You know what I'm saying? But they was moving around like they was hot in their time. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. I ain't gonna hold you on that. You know what I mean? But I felt motivated to do this video based off of that. You know what I'm saying? And I really wanted to touch on some topics. And like I said, I always say, I'm a hip hop baby. You know what I'm saying? I ain't biased. If you hot, you was hot. I don't care where you was from. You know what I'm saying? But I'm definitely going to talk about my city as much as I can when it comes to that, because I really don't feel like we get the proper credit. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you had, because we below New York. Like, in New York and LA, that's the two markets when it comes to, you know, the hip hop stuff, because of, you know, they got the labels there. You know what I'm saying? Really, New York is the headquarters for everybody. Interscope, Def Jam, whoever you want to name, like Universal. You know what I'm saying? Like, even Death Row had a distribution deal through Interscope, through Universal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's New York-based companies. You know what I'm saying? So Philly always had the talent, man. Still do got the talent, but it's hard to break through when you don't have that label there that can push you and get your music out there to the masses without going to a major, which is in New York. You know what I'm saying? They're going to put their artists on before they put us on. They're going to steal from us. They're going to steal slang. Like, come on, man. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? But like I said, I just want to do this video based off that. I thank y'all for checking me out, man. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, man. Comment. Add to. Good or bad, I don't care. I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? But holler at me, man. I'm here. I'm going to stay here. Real rap.